So this is the intraday trading workspace. The chart on the top is a 60-minute chart. This one is US dollar Japanese yen. Those profiles are weekly profiles, and the VWAP is a weekly VWAP. Let me just quickly show you the settings of the VWAP. Weekly VWAP. There's a 1-minute period value. All the settings are default. Only the second deviation is off. So that's this chart. And the chart below is a 30-minute chart, also US dollar Japanese yen. In here I use the flexible volume profile. And if I go into the indicator settings, then you can see that the VWAP is a daily VWAP. Period value is 1 minute. All the other settings are default settings, apart from the second deviation of the VWAP, which I disabled because I don't really use it. Alright, so that's the only thing which is different from the default settings. Let me now go through some of the trade scenarios. What I'll be looking for is volume-based trades confirmed with VWAP. I'll be looking for confirmations on the weekly VWAP as well as on the daily VWAP. Alright, so let's start in here. There's a rotation followed by a selling activity. Heaviest volumes from this rotation are in here. Let me draw a line there, alright? And if you look in here, you can see this dotted line, which indicates that the previous day, the first deviation of the VWAP ended in here. And this is almost exactly at our short level, right there. Now let's have a look at this chart. The level which we have is this one. And if you look closely, you can see that there is also this VWAP deviation in here. Alright, so we have double VWAP confirmation. First in here and the second in here. And apart from that, we also have the volume accumulation setup. Alright, so this is nice confluence of a strong level to go short from. Now in here, there is also a volume accumulation setup. If I use the profile like this, you can see that there were heavy volumes accumulated before start of this strong buying activity. And if I draw a line from the place where the volumes were the heaviest, it is in here. This is the line. This is how it looks like on the 60-minute chart. And there is nice confirmation on the 60-minute chart. Right there, you can see that this is the place where the VWAP from the previous week ended. Right? This place. And this is exactly the same level which we created using the flexible volume profile based on the volume accumulation setup. So this is a confirmation of the VWAP, and this is a strong level to go long from. Now in here, there is also a case of volume accumulation setup. As you can see, there were pretty massive volumes accumulated in this little rotation, which got followed by this buying activity. And the heaviest volumes were right there. Let me draw a line there. Now in this case, we have the VWAP from the previous day in here. This is the yellow dotted line. And also a little bit above it is the first deviation of today's VWAP. Those lines are like 2 pips above our level, which is a nice confirmation of the level. So this would confirm the level. This would confirm the idea to go long from there, alright? The reaction was not that big, but it was a little bit over 10 pips, which if you are trading with 10 pip profit target as I do, would be a winner. Now in here, there is a sharp rejection of higher prices, so let me use the volume profile over this area to see where the volumes were the heaviest. It was in here, and if you look closely, you can see that there's also a confluence of the first deviation of the VWAP. This is the gray line. And also the dotted line, the gray dotted line, which is where the deviation from the first day ended, all right? So we have double confirmation from the VWAP in here. And apart from that, let me just draw this line on the upper chart as well. Now in here, you can see also a very strong confirmation. We have the first deviation of the VWAP line in here, and also the previous week's deviation of the VWAP line. As you can see, they cross in this area. So we have two confirmations on the 60-minute chart with the weekly VWAP, and also two VWAP confirmations in here from the daily VWAP, which is pretty cool, I would say. And also the reaction was pretty cool. All right, so let's move on. Now there is a volume accumulation in here. Volume accumulation right there, followed by strong buying activity. So that's the volume accumulation setup. And if you look at the weekly VWAP, the price goes above the first deviation, gets back and hits it in here. And that's basically our level. Our level is in here. Let me draw the line over upper chart as well. So the level is in here. This is the level to go long from. So if you place the level using the volumes, like I did, then the price would miss it by just the tiniest bit, so I would have to discard the level. But if you place the trade based on the VWAP, you would actually catch it and you would have a nice winner. Alright, that's the trend VWAP setup in here on the weekly VWAP chart. Now I think I forgot to show you one more thing which I wanted to show you, which was in here. There was a sharp rejection of our prices, and if I draw the profile over the rejection, then the heaviest volumes within the rejection is in here. I'm not sure if you can see it, but there's a volume cluster right there, and the heaviest volumes within the volume cluster are at this level. Now the confirmation which I have in here is this dotted line, which is the first deviation from the previous day. Alright, the deviation from the previous day ended in here. This is the dotted line, and that's the confirmation of the level. Volume cluster confirmed by the first deviation from the previous day. Alright, and this is the reaction to it. Also, if you look at the weekly VWAP, then there is the deviation. This is the reaction. Reaction came a little bit before deviation, but the deviation was close. I would still consider it a confirmation of the level. Even if it was not exactly at the level, it was 2 pips above it. Close enough to consider it a confirmation. Now there was a rotation followed by a strong selling activity. And I must say in this case it would be pretty risky because this trade would go against strong uptrend. So it would be a risky trade. But anyways, let me show you. Heaviest volumes in this area are right there. Now actually if I zoom it, it seems that the heaviest volumes were higher, right there. If I make the volume profile more precise, it shows the heaviest volumes a little bit higher in here. And the previous day's first deviation, this is the line, is like 2.5 pips above it, which is not that far, and I would personally consider it a confirmation of the level. Even though it's not exactly at the level, I would still consider it a confirmation, and there would be a nice short from there. But as I said, this trade would be pretty risky because it would go against strong uptrend. Now in here, let's see, there is the uptrend, so let me use the flexible volume profile over this strong buying area. Heaviest volumes being in here, so this would be the level to go long from. Let me just draw this line over the upper picture as well. Here it is. This is our long level, very close to the first deviation of the weekly VWAP, which is in here. This is the VWAP trend setup, alright? The price goes above the VWAP, returns to it, you go long from there. And when you have a volume cluster at the same place or very close to the same place, it's a very strong level to go long from. Also, one more bonus for you. Right there was a resistance becoming support setup. Alright, so we have multiple confirmations of this volume-based level. In my opinion, trades like those are the best trades to take. Now, in this picture, the buying activity continues. And there is a significant volume cluster in here, with heaviest volumes being here. Now, if you look at the weekly VWAP, there's again the trend VWAP setup. Price goes above the first deviation, returns back, reacts to it, and goes upwards. But unfortunately, as you can see in this case, the price turned a little bit sooner before touching the level, which is a shame. This would be a very nice trade to take, but the price turned a little bit before the level. By the way, it got also confirmed by the first deviation of the daily VWAP in here. There's another confirmation, but price turned before that, so in real trading you would need to discard such a level, alright? So there would be a no trade from there. Now in here, there would probably be a losing trade. Let me show you. Volume accumulation setup. This is a level to go long from, confirmed by the previous day's first deviation. This is the gray dotted line. You can see it in here. And also, if I draw this level on the upper chart, you can see that there was the trend VWAP setup in here, alright? This is where the price returned back to the first deviation, so there should be a long from there. Unfortunately, there was only a smaller reaction a little bit before the level. The reaction was 8 pips before the level, and then the price turned and went into a sell-off. So it would either be a no trade, you would either discard the trade, or if you don't discard trades when the price turns a little bit before your trading level, then it would be a losing trade. But still, the confluence was there, it was a strong level, only the price did not react to it. Maybe there was macro news, the volatility got suddenly pretty up, but I don't really remember, so maybe it wasn't, maybe there was just strong selling activity and this level just failed and did not work. Anyways, let's move forward. There was a very nice case of the volume accumulation setup right before the market close. Heavy volumes in here, then this huge gap, which I consider as sort of strong sell-off. I consider it the same. Then the level from the heaviest volume peak is in here. It gets confirmed by the previous day's VWAP. This yellow dotted line in here, and this is the reaction to it. The price reacted to the VWAP a little bit before those heavy volumes, like 0.1 or 0.2 pips before it. So if you place your trade based on the VWAP, it would be a winner. If you place your trade based on the volumes, you would miss the trade. Now, there was a strong selling activity in here, and when there is a selling activity like that, I look for significant volume clusters. I would expect that strong volume cluster would be in here, but there is not. There are some volumes, but not a significant volume cluster, so I probably wouldn't take shorts from this area. If I were into it, then there would be a confirmation from the deviation from the previous day in here. there was the reaction. But in my trading, I wouldn't take the trade because there was not a significant volume cluster in here. One thing which could persuade me to take the trade would be this reaction to this level in the past, because this was a strong support, as you can see, because the price bounced off this level in here, also in here, and also in here in those little reactions. So this was a strong support. Then the price went past it. It did not create a strong volume cluster, but only a weak one. But apart from that, it's true that we have the VWAP and also the previous day's first deviation. So in the end, this resistance area is not that weak. I think in the end it would be worth the trade, even though the volumes are not as significant as I would like them to be. Now there is a sort of volume accumulation setup in here, but the range is pretty tight. I'm not usually into taking such trades if there is not any confirmation, alright? So let's see if there's any. There's the volume accumulation, heavy volumes in here. This is the level to go short from. As you can see, the reaction was pretty strong. But let's have a look if there is a confluence to this level, if there is a confirmation on the VWAP, alright? This is the level on the 30-minute chart. This is the level on the 60-minute chart. Now, if you look closely on the top screen, you can see that the previous week's VWAP deviation was in here. That's the gray dotted line, exactly at the level, which is a very nice confirmation of the level. Also, if you look at this screen, then you can see that the previous day's VWAP, this one, ended a little bit above the level, just a tiny bit, which is another confirmation of the level. Alright, so in fact this level isn't that bad, isn't that weak, because of the VWAP confirmation. Alright, so if you weren't sure if to trade it or no, because the range is just too small, then those confirmations should help you to decide, and you would take the trade. Now what caught my eye is also this little rotation followed by this buying activity, rotation, buying activity in here, heaviest volumes being right there, so you would go long from there. There's also confirmation, there's a first deviation of the VWAP in here, and if you look at the weekly VWAP, then it's also the rotation setup in here. There's the first deviation, this is the reaction. Alright, so we have one confirmation of the weekly VWAP and two confirmations of the daily VWAP. And of course, we have the volumes in here. Well, this would actually be a pretty strong level to go long from. The reaction was not that strong, but it was over 10 pips. So with 10 pip profit target, you would have a winner. Now in here, there was a rotation followed by a strong selling activity. So that's the volume accumulation setup. Heaviest volumes in the rotation being in here. And the weekly VWAP is in here. As you can see, the price reacted very nicely to the VWAP, but it was 6 pips away from the level itself. So in this case, it would be sort of hard to decide whether to still take the trade because there was already a reaction to the weekly VWAP, or if to discard it. If you were trading using the volume profile only, you would go short from there. It would be a losing trade. If you are trading using VWAP, it would be a winner. So in this case, unfortunately, it's not that straightforward. So let's move on a bit. Let's have a look at another example. Now in here, there was a strong buying activity. So if I use the volume profile over this buying activity, there's a significant volume cluster in here. Those are basically the heaviest volumes throughout this strong buying activity, if I don't count those volumes, of course. Those are at the end, but during this buying activity, those volumes are the heaviest. Heaviest volume peak is in here. If I draw this line on the top screen, it is in here. This is the long level. And as you can see, there is the trend VWAP setup on the weekly VWAP, which is a very strong confirmation. The price got above the first deviation, got back, hit it, and exactly at this level where the volumes were the heaviest, there is also the first deviation of the weekly VWAP. Strong confluence of VWAP and profile. This is the reaction. Pretty strong one, pretty aggressive one. Now, I wouldn't be really surprised if this was actually during news, but I don't think that there is news in this time, so this probably wasn't a candle caused by the news, so this would probably be a very nice and very fast winner. Come to think of it, I think that I actually remember taking this trade. It was a pretty fast one. Yeah, I probably took this one around 3 weeks ago. Anyways, there's one more thing which I forgot to mention in here. It's this dotted line. Previous week's deviation. Right? Another confirmation. So you have two VWAP confirmations in here. And also you have the volume cluster in here. Alright? A very nice confluence. Now in here there was a rotation followed by a selling activity. So if I use the profile over the rotation, you can see that the volumes were the heaviest in here. This would be a level to go short from. Unfortunately, there is no confirmation of the level on the weekly VWAP. There is only a weaker confirmation on the daily VWAP. The confirmation is a little bit below the level. It is this dotted line. It is the first deviation on the previous day's VWAP. It's 3 pips below the level. So the confirmation is not that strong, but still it's something. And there is the reaction to the level. Now let's go into the last example before we go into the swing trade examples. There was a buying activity, an uptrend. This whole uptrend, I only selected this area, the last part of the uptrend. Significant volume cluster being in here. Heaviest peak is in here, and this would be a level to go long from. Now, if you look at the weekly VWAP, you can see that there is a nice confirmation there, because this is the trend VWAP setup. The price goes above the first deviation, gets back, hits it in here, which is exactly at our level. Let me draw the line there so you can see it better, alright? In here, alright? This is where the price bounced off that VWAP and made the reaction. This is the reaction. Alright, so this was a very nice confluence of two setups. Now, what I really like is a confluence on the weekly VWAP. I consider the weekly VWAP a stronger confirmation than the daily one, alright? The confirmations on the weekly VWAP are more rare. They don't occur as often, but I consider them stronger. Alright, so that's it for the intraday VWAP examples. And let's now go into the swing trade examples.